The Freedmen's Bureau was a federal government agency established in 1865 to help freedmen during the Reconstruction era. This followed a long period of slavery. The main goal was to help free African Americans and poor whites be able to get the same opportunities as everyone else. Abraham Lincoln was the President of the United States during the Reconstruction era. He felt that the Freedmen's Bureau should not be temporary and that everyone should have equal rights and opportunities, despite everyone who disagreed with him.
Freedmen's Bureau, poor whites had many pros and many cons, as well as free blacks. Some pros they had were providing food, clothing, shelter, schooling, and medical and legal help. Some cons angered white Southerns, gave no job training, forced most newly freed blacks to become sharecroppers. These were all demonstrations of the opportunities and how fortunate free blacks and poor whites were, and also how they were given the upper hand in society. But the most significant impact the Freedmen's Bureau had was the creation of education and jobs specifically put in place for poor whites and free blacks that are still in place today.
Freedmen's Bureau was established under the presidency of Abraham Lincoln. Following the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, his vice president, Andrew Johnson, became the president. Andrew Johnson, a southerner from Tennessee, was not really into African Americans. He didn't believe that African Americans should get exact privileges given to the whites. He blamed the Northerners for the Civil War and why the Southern states seceded from the Union. He believed that the Northerners are trying to give African Americans exact and making African Americans superior than the white supremacists. This prompted most of his actions during his administration. The 40 acres and a mule promise made by Sherman was abolished by Andrew Johnson under his administration. He gave back lands to white Southerners as an act of trying to get them situated after the Civil War. His administration actually vetoed the law made by Congress to help extend the tenure for the organization, the Freedmen's Bureau. Most of his actions during his presidency were actually against the promotion of African Americans. Like, he wasn't really in favor of African Americans. He believed that African Americans were subject, that they had to just stay subjected to the whites. This led to most of the challenges experienced by this organization.
Blacks were given 40 acres and a mule for compensation for slavery. At this time, they had owned their own land. For once, the blacks had owned their own land. Once Andrew Johnson became president, everything went back to normal because he didn't agree with the ideals. The 40 acres and a mule was given back to white landowners, and blacks became sharecroppers. Planted for whites while blacks were given somewhere to live. While Johnson continued to try to make things back the way they were and had blacks into slavery, Congress, for the first time in history, vetoed his law. Also, Congress put in place the Amendment 14 and 15 to compensate for blacks for all the mistreatment during slavery. This allowed people to not be turned down to vote, and that people wouldn't be discriminated based on their race or ethnicity. This was the Great Compromise only because things were put in place to better African Americans, not only economically, but politically and socially. They were one step further to having every opportunity as everyone else.
That the Freedmen's Bureau aided former slaves in their new lives as well as poor whites, which included the creation of over 4,000 schools and jobs as well. The Freedmen's Bureau was an agency which took a stand against the common ideals that were in place at the time, which was having blacks and poor whites oppressed. The oppression for blacks involved slavery, no equal rights, no education, and no ability to get a job. While the whites were struggling economically, which contained not having jobs, living in ghettos, and some going without food. The Freedmen's Bureau turned all of the struggling and oppression around with the opportunities that they presented to both races. With the Freedmen's Bureau taking a stand, it allows everyone nowadays to have access to education and jobs equally.